evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again for Dialogue with the Diaspora. I am Diane Haylock. Our guest this evening lives in California, but after amassing a wealth of knowledge and years of experience in the wine industry in the United States, he has opened a wine shop and lounge in Belize. Joseph Smith is the owner of Wine Smith Limited, located in San Ignacio in the Cayo district. This evening, I am thrilled to hear his story. Welcome to Dialogue with the Diaspora, Joseph.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, and I appreciate that you guys doing this with me. Appreciate it very, very much.
Well, it really is our pleasure to have you here, and I really want to hear all about Wine Limited or Wine Smith Limited, right? But before we get to that part, I must get into your personal life and your relationship with Belize. You're Belizean, you were born in Belize, lived here for a while, and then of course you migrated to the United States. Talk to us a bit about that. Where do you come from? Who is your people?
Okay, so again, yeah, so good.
Yes.
All right, thanks for having me again. So I am Joseph Smith, and yes, I am the owner of Wine Smith Limited in Belize. In addition with that, I have a few other brands here in California that I manage and run. These are my own brands as well, distributed all over the US. But my starting, so I grew up in the towns of San Ignacio in Belize. Just like most Belizean, growing up in Belize, I mean, I have some of the fondest memories growing up there. I mean, it's a beautiful place. Every time I go back, it's I feel like a child again. I just feel like I fit right in, even though I've been living here for about 26 years. Every time I go to Belize, I just feel like I fit right in because I'm Belizean. But my upbringing, I come from a large family like most Belizean do. I come from siblings of 13. I have 7 brothers and 6 sisters. So huge family, and growing up was never an easy task in Belize, I think, for a family of that magnitude. My dad was, he's a little bit of everything in my eyes. He was a tour guide. He was a taxi driver. He was a lottery vendor. So my dad did everything possible to be able to support his family of 13. And as you can tell, that's not an easy task.
It certainly isn't.
Right. So for me, growing up, my dad tried to get everybody into school, and everybody get the opportunity to go to school. So I went to Mopan Technical College in Benque Viejo del Carmen. But honestly, I'll be quite frank, I don't know if that was my calling. I just feel like my instinct was more, I needed more. I wasn't thrilled. I was not happy going to school, and I would never direct anybody to actually not do that, to not go to school, because it's very important. Later on, it caught up to me, so I had to go back to school when I came to the US. But for me, it wasn't part of my drive. So at an early age, I considered myself an entrepreneur in that level, and I believe that's because of the monetary situation that you're in, the way life was, how hard it was. It drives you to actually want to contribute at an early age. Like you saw more enjoyment of, hey, I actually could help my mom put some food on the table, or I could actually help my brother to get some shoes or whatever it is. Those were joyful to me. That was aspirational to me. So that's kind of what I like. So the more and more I did that, the more I realized that I'm actually more of and I have some entrepreneurial skills that I should be using. So as far as I could take it and believe is what I did. At a certain point, I just realized that I need to find something more that can give me more. And at that time, I don't think Belize had that to offer to me. That's my story. It didn't have that to offer to me. So you can consider me an economic refugee, because I came over here on an economical situation. I needed to get more, I needed to get my finance up. So I had to find a way to do that. And like every other Belizean, you have family member in the US. And you seek help from them, and
So
that was
Joseph, tell me,
good.
how old were you when you actually left Belize?
I was 20 years old when I left Belize. I was 20 years old. It was 1996 when I left Belize. So it wasn't. It was not for. It was coming out here for a different reason. I was coming out here to see. I need to make some finance so I could go back to Belize and create something back in Belize. That was my goal. It was never to come here and stay and build a career. It was more. I just need to come make some money so I can go back to Belize and delve into something that I think I want to do. And that was the idea for me. But
So
once I got out here,
what were you thinking about? What were some of those thoughts that were germinating in the back of your mind as to what you would do when you went to the States? Or was it
right,
just that the US was seen as this land of milk and honey and it wasn't happening in Belize, so it would happen there? What was happening
it,
with you at that
it,
time?
exactly like you said, the U.S. was this land of milk and honey. Was always the greener pastures was over here. That's the concept of what the U.S. is. That's the idea for this country itself. That's a way to actually bring more. I call it migrants to support that economy. So I think that's their way of getting more workers in their country. So they created this. I call it this. They create this facade that it is greener pasture. But if I may, I would say it's not all that glitter is gold. It's not true to some degree because I think if you are not driven from the beginning, the U.S. you could come out here and just fall flat. So to me, there is the opportunity for self-driven people. So that has to come from within yourself. So I believe I had that from Belize, not knowing that, but I know there was something more that I could achieve. So the milk and honey land, yes, let me go give that a try. And that was my drive to come out here. I'm gonna come out here for a few years, make some money, go back to Belize. And I was gonna be happy to open a store, whether it's a clothing store or something. That was a young man's dream, an idea of just start to think about how do I make it in life? And these are the little entrepreneurial things that come into your mind. Maybe I can open a store, and from a store, maybe I can open a restaurant. And you start thinking those type of stuff because that's the avenue that you know. So for me, that was my idea. Once I got out here, my life took a different turn. It took a huge turn. I had family that lives in Los Angeles, and my cousin and another friend of mine were working in a construction small business, and they offered me a job to go do some renovation up in Northern California. Granted, I was only in LA for about 2 months when they offered me this job. And the job was for them to go do some renovation in Northern California. So Northern California is where it's a big farming community up here. It's where the great capital of California. That's where all the wines are produced up in Northern California. I mean, so this is, if you're into wine, this is where it comes. Granted, I had no experience with wine at this point. I'm coming here to do construction work. So that was my idea coming to California. So I got into the construction work. We went to renovate the winery, and within the first month, I sparked up a really good relationship with the owner slash winemaker of that facility. And he presented me, hey, I would like for you to stay here and work and harvest with us. He says the grapes are getting ready to be harvested, and we're going to need extra help to process the fruit. And my uncle and friend says, hey, man, we don't have much going on back when we get back to LA. So this is a good opportunity for you. And I actually decided to stay and work that first harvest with the company. And after my first harvest, I have to apologize, but I told the owner, I don't know anything about wine in Belize. And we
Well,
drink
man,
beer and we drink rum.
you at least knew about berry wine and cashew wine and things
At
like that,
least
no?
that was my idea of wine, by the way. That's actually what I thought it was going to be. And it's funny because they do have wine here that they make with a sweeter finish. So to me, those are the wine that I was gravitating
Right.
towards because I'm like, well, this does remind me of the cashew wine. This does remind me of the barrel wine because of the sugar in it. So that's what I gravitated towards. So to me, it felt good. But again, once I got into the professionalism of winemaking, I started realizing that, man, I really don't know much about wine at all. So it took a good 6 months before I really said, you know what, this is something unique, and I don't know where else I can get this type of training to work in an industry that after looking to it, there's such a, I mean, people are building careers off of this stuff. So maybe I should put a lot more attention to this.
So did
And
I
and you know
understand
what?
you correctly when you said that you started off then with harvesting the grapes?
The
Is that?
grapes, correct.
Uh-huh.
Really, that was harvesting the grapes was just me doing whatever the owners, the winemakers asked me to do. Joseph, we want you to help with this, do that. Joseph, we want you to help us. There's a term for people like me when you first get into the wine business. They call you a cellar rat because a wine cellar is always damp and cold, and you work in there for about 12 to 14 hours a day during the harvest season, sometimes 16 hours a day. So they call you a cellar rat because you work in an environment where a lot of people might look at that job and say, you know what? Yeah, I don't think I want to do that job. That's a little tough. But to learn the wine business, you got to start from the bottom. And if you want to learn it, you want to learn every aspect of it. So to me, I actually embrace it with open arms that, you know what? I don't know why you guys are doing this, but I need to learn why you're doing it. So I went into it with a more open mind versus somebody that would come into it and expect level. I told him I wanted to go from the bottom, and that's all I need, just an opportunity, because I'm coming from a place where I came from nothing. I don't have any means. If I go back to Belize, I'm probably going to go back to do the same thing that I was doing, and this is an opportunity for me. So I actually embrace it when they put me in the cellar, and that's kind of how I got my start. I worked at that winery for about 2 years. I worked at that job for about 2 years. The winemaker
In the wine cellar.
in the wine cellar. I worked there for about 2 years, just doing whatever work they asked me to do. Granted, mind, I still don't understand what I'm doing, but I'm just working. A 20-year-old kid, you're not paying too much attention to what's going on because at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is I need to build up a bank account. That's kind of was my end goal. I just need to build up a bank account. But 2 years after working there for 2 years, I realized that you know what? I believe this is where I'm gonna be. And my whole mind frame about, hey, I came here on a mission, and that mission is getting diverted into something different. So after 2 years, my mind now is set that this should be something I should pick as a career because I don't have nothing else to fall back on. So that's when I decided, you know what, I should put a little more interest in this. So I remember this clearly. One evening, the winemaker at the facility slash owner approached me and says, Joseph, I'm planning to leave the winery because this is not working out the way I expected it to work out. And I tell him, what do you mean? I'm like, I am here because of you. He says, yeah, you have a job. He says, the other partner loves you here. He definitely wants you to stay. And I told him, whoa, okay. He says, but I'll tell you something. I am going to land on my feet, and I'm hoping that if I approach you in about a month or two, you will be willing to come work with me again. And that thing resonated with me. I went home and I thought about that. I said, you know what? This is the guy that believed in me, because he keeps telling me, you can make it far in this business. You can make it far in this industry. And hearing that so much, you tend to gravitate towards that because that's positivity, So that drove me. And I went home after that conversation, and I came back the next day and I told the winemaker, look, I'm leaving. If you're leaving, I'm leaving with you. I don't care what it is, but you're the guy that got me here, and I'm leaving with you. I told him, I believe in you. I believe everything that's happening here is because of you. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, we might have enough money to sustain us for about a couple of weeks, but I know we're going to land on our feet. And sure enough, I left. He left the cellar. As soon as we left the winery, all the clients that was within that winery that we were working with called and says, wherever you guys go, that's where we're going to go. So it was like an overnight. They just said, no, we are following you guys. that right there showed me that, look, if you are with the right people and you are on the right path, other people going to see the same thing you see and they're going to follow. So it's I'm following my winemaker and here's a bunch of other people following us as well. So that was one of the best decisions I made in this wine business, is to lead with with the winemaker, to lead with him. So what we did, we created a consulting firm for growers that wanted to break into the wine business that had no idea how to do it. We knew how to make the wine. After 2 years, I'm learning a lot now. I know how to run certain machines. I know what it takes to bring grapes in. I know how to organize stuff. So what we did, we traveled all up and down the Central Coast, from all the way down from South Santa Barbara, all the way up to Northern California to Ukiah. So I would travel all up and down the coast, working with growers that wanted to get into the wine business. So we would find other wineries where we can bring their fruit in to process. So there's a thing in the wine business. If the growers have excess fruit that is not contracted or is not sold, he has to find a way to actually make it into wine, to process it. And they would seek us out to give them that information and that help. And they trusted what we did. So that was my real power in the wine business. I think that's what validated me. I love the idea of I am traveling to all these different regions, learning about grapes from all over California, and I'm getting paid doing this. It was like I died and went to heaven. This is a perfect job. So to me, that was my big break there for me to get into the wine business. Even
How
after
did you,
that,
how did
when
you, how did you actually start to learn it? Because I mean, it is a specialty in
so
itself. I mean, did you, because you weren't going to school or anything like that,
at
so
that I
you
wasn't
were
correct.
reading, you were learning on the job. What was happening then?
Yes.
I mean, having moved out of the cellar.
Yeah. So what happened is after the transition from the seller and into this consulting firm, I think it gave me a little bit of empowerment, and it actually gave me some motivation. So just like you said, what I did, I took everything a lot more serious and I questioned everything I did. Not only that, but after a year on the road doing this with the direction of the head winemaker, I'm still under his direction. But after 1 year on the road, I decided to enroll myself into the University of California for the viticulture enology program. And I believe I did that for the sole fact that I think I know how to make wine, but I don't understand why I do the stuff I do. So I wanted to learn the chemistry of winemaking, and that's why I enrolled myself into the college. One of the main things that stuck out was the winemaker said, "Look, this is going to help you to understand why you do what you do. But I'll tell you what it's never going to do. It's never going to replace the trust I have in how you taste wine." So he instilled in me that I'm a good wine taster. I could actually taste wine. I mean, according to him, he've sit in so many panels, had so many wine tasting with many, many winemakers from all over the world. And he said, I am the only winemaker that he believed. And this is a Belizean kid that's only been doing this for 4 years. And he says, "You're the only palate I trust. When you tell me something don't taste good, I trust you." That empowered me again. It makes me feel that I know what I'm doing. But what he was doing was exactly that. He was training me to believe in my palate and believe in what I'm doing. And one of the things that I have to say, man, if once somebody believes in you, it's hard for anybody else to come and tear that down, because you know the end result. You see where this is going. And that's what I got. I got that from him. So to me, learning the technicality of winemaking was not like learning winemaking on the job. And that's kind of my difference. I've now you fast forward to where I am today. I still credit everything to being a hands-on winemaker, not a technical one, but a hands-on winemaker, because I can make wine on a paper, on a desk, but man, that's just numbers. You have to be able to make it taste good. You have to be able to understand. So that's one of the things that he credited me for. He says, "You are a hands-on winemaker, and those are rare in this industry. So those are very, very rare." So that's when I believe that I evolved into who I am today. So after I did my classes at UC Davis, I felt renewed. I came back, still working with him, but he said, Joe, you are doing so good. It says, you know what? It says you probably are looking for a full winemaking position now. And that's when I landed in Lodi, where I'm at today. I'm still in Lodi today. And the first winery that hired me was a big winery. It's called Michael David Cellars here in Lodi. And they hired me not as their lead winemaker, but as their assistant to their winemaker. And within the first 6 months, I went from the assistant to actually side-by-side winemaker in 6 months. And one of my clients that I worked back in 1998, this is in 2004, one of my clients that I worked back in 1998 approached me and said, I'm ready to launch my brand. I would really like to bring you on as my winemaker. And if you do that, I already have the facility picked out, but the only way I'm going to sign the lease is if you come on as my full-time winemaker. That's in 2007. And that's the company that I'm working with today, Clinker Brick Winery. I've been with them since 2007 to present. And when I started with Clinker Brick Winery, we were producing around 5,000 cases of wine. Today, we are producing over 120,000 cases of wine under the same winemaker, the same Belizean winemaker that came from nowhere and never knew anything about wine to running a big wine brand. And in that whole journey, I created my own wine labels, too, by the way. I had distributing my wines in 46 states throughout the U.S. And now, fast forward to 5 years later, I opened a wine store or wine lounge in Belize with the intent for distribution, which is what we're doing now. So a distribution company and a wine bar in my hometown of Belize.
Well, let's talk about that, because you said that there was about 5 years before you decided to do something in Belize. Why did you want to do that? I mean, had you amassed enough money to do that? What made you want to come back to Belize so quickly to start a business like this?
Good question. So it took me that long. I call it that long, even though it was 5 years. So it was in 2014 is when I all these years I would go back to Belize every so often, twice a year if I could. I would go back to Belize because it's my home. I love it. But I saw a change when I went to Belize in 2015. I saw a change in the way how people, or just the locals, I'm not even talking tourists, but I'm the locals. What I saw was my family knew I'm in wine and they were happy about it, but that wasn't something that they liked. I would come down there every year and I would go to dinner with them and I would order a little glass of wine, and they don't want that. They just don't want the wine. In 2015, I went to Belize, and I remember right there, I got there on the 23rd, a couple of days before Christmas. And we were meeting on the 24th at my mom's house, and everybody came over. And usually come over, I just want to bring a bottle of this, a bottle of that. I was so surprised to see there was about 5 different family members that brought a bottle of wine. And I looked at that and I'm like, wait a minute, you guys, it's like, yeah. I says, no, we just kind of start drinking the wine. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I start paying attention and I noticed I went out to the restaurant and I saw people now are like, yeah, we have little wine on the list. Again, I don't think there was a drive or people are understanding what. I think it was just a demand but maybe the tourists that's coming in there asking, hey, you need to have wine in here or something. But I start seeing the locals wanting to drink wine as well. And that's when I'm like, you know what? This should be the exact place where I should do this. It says this is what I have. I have all this wealth of knowledge about the wine industry. This should be what I do. So in 2018, I just said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And I just decided, hey, I'm going to go feet first into this. I'm going to go 100%. And I am going to actually bring wine into Belize. And I'm talking quality wine. I'm not going to bring wine that, oh, we have wine here. I'm going to bring wine that's award-winning wine from a Belizean winemaker. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And I brought that into Belize with the idea of I am going to help a lot of Belizeans learn a whole different beverage that they can build a career off as well. And that's what my whole goal is. That's what I set out to do, is to train enough Belizeans to understand that wine and food and the tourism industry goes hand in hand. And if we are going to play on this stage, we have to learn our wine. So I am one of the biggest proponents actually train and encourage Belizean to actually learn the business of wine, because it's all over the world. Every part of the world, every crevice, every corner, there is wine there. There is wine there. So there's a there's a big industry that I think we was never exposed to, but we don't need to keep the door closed. We can open this door and expose more Belizean to a different avenue of career, you know. So that's kind of my end goal. I want to do that. That's what I'm pushing for.
Viewers, we will take a break, but we'll be right back. So what are the offerings at Winesmith Limited? What do you sell? What different kinds of wine?
Yeah,
And
so I sell
people buy the wine as well as actually lounge there and taste
Yes,
wine.
correct. So we have our storefront in Belize, which is in San Ignacio, and in there you can taste all the wines that I make. So my whole concept of making this is the knowledge that came with it. I just didn't want to bring a wine that I am not affiliated with. So what I bring to Belize is wine that I can 100% say this is made by Joseph Smith, Belizean winemaker. He made these wines in California. One of the new things on some of my new project, you're going to see the back of my label is going to state that exact word. It's going to say California grown, Belizean owned, because I'm making it here, but I am Belizean 100%. So that's something that I'm going to start showcasing on all the wines that I produce in California. I'm going to make that mantra. That's going to make that part of my mantra. California grown, Belizean owned. And every single bottle is going to have that verbiage on the back of it. So I wanted to bring the wine that I made for the fact that I think that's the only way I could showcase Belizean, the young men that's coming up on the street, the young men that don't understand that part of the business, don't even know what wine's supposed to do, could look at me and says, if Joseph could do something like this, then why can't? And he has opened the door for us here in Belize, so maybe I should put a little more interest into this. So that's kind of the avenue that I'm trying to open up in Belize. I already seen how it changed a few people's life in Belize. I had a nephew that just graduated from college and didn't have anywhere to go. And I introduced him when I told him, wait, stay right here. I'm going to open this store and you're going to find something new here. He says, man, I didn't even understand I was going to be able to do a job like this. But you see the passion that he has for it now. My nephew from Belize never been in the U.S. to understand wine, but I'm telling him, you don't need to come here. You could learn it because you have knowledge firsthand coming from someone that makes the wine firsthand to you, and you're related, and it's blood, and you're the same culture, and so it gives you that passion. But not only that, but it gives you the courage, and it gives you it makes you say, if he can do it, I can do this. It gives you that confidence. It gives you the confidence because ever since I opened the wine store, I noticed how Belizean, and I sell from all walks of life, they let you know right off the bat that I am not a wine connoisseur. That's the first thing they tell you. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I like this wine or I like that wine. And I say, I don't think a lot of people that drink wine are not connoisseurs, but wine beverage is made to drink. At some point, it was for the higher echelon society. Well, we are here to break that down because there's no reason why the ordinary man can enjoy a glass of wine with a barbecue, a glass of white wine with a rice and beans, a glass of wine with some tacos. There's no reason why you can't do that. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the forefront. Like, hey, wine is for every walks of life. It's not for one set of people. It's for everybody. So that's the confidence that I want to bring to people to showcase that.
And how has the business been going? What is it now? 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, it's going on 3 years, and again, I think that one of my biggest thing was I start that business, and I wanted to give family members and local around my hometown an opportunity just another job, just opening another business. We hit a rough spot during the pandemic, but I gotta say, I think by that time, I think we have done enough for the local market that actually people were supporting it even through the pandemic. And I'm talking my locals were doing that. They were coming. I'm like, oh, I gotta have my wine smith. I gotta have my brick mason. I gotta have my concrete cap, and I have to have my Moscato. And we noticed that even through the pandemic, people were still coming and buying the wine and taking it home, even though we were closed. We lost a lot of business on resort, but the good thing is, this winery or these products are built on a Belizean strength, meaning I don't have somebody that I need to buy this wine from and then take it to Belize, and I actually make the wine myself here in California. So I was able to sustain 2 years of the pandemic. I was able to sustain that because I owe myself money. So that helped a lot, just because I came in here with the right direction. I wanted to come in here when I was ready, and that's what we did. So we didn't come in here on a shaky background. We come in here fully stern, fully strong, and fully ready to go. So that's kind of how we approached the whole beginning from the start, and it paid off, and it's still paying off, because I think there's a long road ahead. I mean, we have just scratched the surface. There's a lot more. I mean, I'm looking to partner up with the local Set University, which is a culinary a technical school, where I want to bring kids to the U.S. to just see how grapes are grown, see how it's made. I want to do workshops. Those are some of the things that I'm trying to implement in our society. I'm trying to change the concept of what wine is for Belizeans. That's my whole plan. That's my whole plan of doing this.
Having traveled this road, Joseph, and notwithstanding the bumps along the COVID road, what word of advice would you offer to other Belizeans living abroad who may wish to start their own business in Belize? I mean, we know here it's not easy. Starting a new business is never easy.
Correct.
But you have had some experiences, and as I said, COVID aside, what kind of advice may you offer to Belizeans who are thinking about actually coming home, starting from scratch, setting up their own business in other areas, perhaps?
Right. So this is my big thing. I would say the first thing you have to have is you have to have the vision. Believe in that vision. You have to believe in what you're doing is exactly what you want to do. It's not, I think I can do that, or maybe, but you have to believe in what you're doing, because there's going to be a lot of, well, maybe and maybe not, or maybe yes. That's one thing. Networking with Belizean. You have to network with your Belizean people. You have to meet your Belizean people. You have to be a staple in your community. You have to go in the community and have people know that's Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schmidt has the wine. You have to meet the people and believe. It's hard for someone to root themselves out, especially for Belizean. I don't think it's that hard for an expat to come open a business in Belize. I think it's harder for Belizean to do it. And the reason why I say that is because the confidence I think our Belizean have with us is not, they see us as equal. I mean, and that's just part of the culture in Belize. They see you as equal. And it's hard for you to showcase them something different, and they believe in it 100%. So for me, that was my biggest challenge, just convincing my Belizean people that what I've learned in the US, right? I've learned it on my own. I've put in the work for this. So what I'm bringing to you is my knowledge. I'm bringing you my knowledge, and I believe in it. So anybody that wants to open a business in Belize, I tell you, believe in yourself, believe in that product, and learn from the community that you're going to go open it into, whether it's wherever it is, be a part of that community. Whatever you need to do, be a part of the community. That will take you a long way, because I think that's what we fall back on every time the pandemic showed that you run into something like this, the local community is going to back you up. And that's what you have to have. Have a good backing of your local community. So the networking, come to Belize and network. Try to go to these forums. If you guys have a forum for the diaspora, we could just talk, because what I know might be something that you're not realizing that you need to know. And that's how this communication happen and help you to make that road a little easier for you, So that's kind of the idea for us to unite as Belizean. And if we want to open business in Belize, that's what you got to do.
But you're currently still pretty much living in the United States, Joseph.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Yes, 100%.
How often do you come to Belize?
I make at least about 3 trips per year right now, about 3 trips per year. And with the longest one being, I go down for like a month during the Christmas vacation. I usually come down for about a month.
Who takes care of the business then?
Yeah, so I have family members that runs the business for me. I have a brother that was also in the tourism sector of the of Belize, and he worked at a resort, and he was kind of one of the face for a resort. And when I told him, look, this is kind of what I want to do, he was more than willing to say, look, I would support a Belizean doing something like this 100%. So that was an easy transition for me to grab my brother to actually help me manage the Belize, manage the shop in Belize. And for business, I also have nephews that I train to be my salespeople. And the reason why I fall back on family, because I'm a big family guy. I believe in family. I think when all else fail, even though you might have the toughest relationship with family, when all else fail, I think family is the first that you can lean and support on. I just believe in that. So I have all my family members, about five of us working in this business right now, and now we are starting to seek out outside help so we can show that we are not just a family business, but we are a community business. We want to bring people from outside the community now, and that's what we have position right now that we're filling for those jobs. So that's a big part. So I was fortunate enough to have a family member that was able to help and see through the business. But so for me, that would be the first avenue. That would be my first avenue for anyone that wants to do. Make sure the relationship with the family is strong. And that would be your best backing. That would be your best backing, and then you start building from there.
So, if viewers want to check out Winesmith, where is it actually located?
So we are at number 73 Bullet Tree Road in San Ignacio, in the district of Kaya.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to get to. You from downtown, you take the Bullet Tree Road and just go all the way like you're heading towards Bullet Tree Village, and we're right on the highway there.
So it's closer to the village itself, or it's more?
No, it's actually closer to town. No, we are probably, well, I can't say, because the whole like I said, every time I go to Belize, it keeps expanding. It's almost one town now. Bullet Tree and San Ignacio is almost connected by this time. They're almost done connecting now. So, but yes, we're closer to San Ignacio than Bullet Tree. So it would consider Independence Square is what that was called. So, but the actual address is Bullet Tree Road.
Any plans for retirement in Belize?
You know what? Definitely, I am currently building a home in Belize, because that's kind of my love. That's where I want to go. That's where I'm going to retire for sure. I still have a bunch more work to do out here. I still have a lot of stuff to accomplish yet. And but in the near future, I think in the near future, yes, I see myself retiring in Belize. Of course, that's part of the plan. That's definitely part of the plan. High up there on the plan.
Joseph, what a wonderful story and journey. I mean, I'm fascinated by the whole story. I want to congratulate you on taking the leap and investing in your place of birth. I mean, I really wish you continued success. And I certainly will stop by when I'm next in Cayo.
I'll say one more thing, Miss Diane. I'll say this, that one of the things that gave me a lot of confidence too was when I started seeing my wines getting international recognition. Meaning, in 2020, I made a wine that actually broke. There's a publication in the wine business called the Wine Spectator magazine. It's our Bible. You know, if you're in the wine business, this is the Bible. This is where you go for to see which wine is the top wine and where, you know, which region is the top region and stuff like that. That's your direction. That's where you get all your information from. So to make it into those magazines is a big part of a winemaker's journey. And in 2020, when I say we here in Lodi, I made a wine which is called the Grenache Blanc, which I also have in Belize. I made a wine here, and it was rated top 100 wine of the world. Never been done in our region for 48 years since their existence. They've been submitting every year, and it never happened. And I said, well, you need to have a Belizean make your wine, because then it happened. So for 48 years, it never happened. And here I came, Belizean, with no wine background. And we put the little community, the little town on the map. And it's a big deal still going on today after, it's already been 2 years, but it's still talked about just because of the enormity of that accomplishment.
So you've got to save me a bottle of that wine.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So,
I really want to thank you again for dialoguing with me this evening. It really has been a pleasure.
No, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate talking to you guys. This is awesome.
Viewers, we will take a short break and be right back. Viewers, as I have said often on this show, I continue to be impressed and inspired by the many Belizeans all over the world who are making their contributions to the development of our people and our country. Joseph Smith is one of them, and we're very proud of him. Keep it up, Joseph. On that note, I will sign off for now, but we will be back again next Thursday, 7 p.m., right here on CBTV and on Colorblind's Facebook page. Good night and take good care.